Manifesting with Meg, episode 122, and I am bringing you a fantastic special guest today, conversations with the extraordinary Dr. Laura Ellick. And as you guys all know, I love this month. It's gratitude. November is the month of gratitude, and today our theme is gratitude is everything, which I absolutely wholeheartedly believe. It's a superpower. It's sometimes their strength. It's everything. So this is our year of Empowered Through Purpose. I really am excited to actually have a conversation with Dr. Laura because we met in the world of social media. So it's even more exciting that she's brought to screen with me today. This is all about transformation, dreams, inspiration, true happiness, and discovering bliss. Remember, we're always a conversation away from extraordinary. And this is a universe packed with possibilities. So let's get to it. How are you today, Laura?
Hello, I am so happy to be here with you. Like you said, it was a connection on social media that was just so exciting because people always say social media is the destruction of our
Yeah.
society. Nothing good comes out of it. And I'm like, wow, I met a kindred spirit
Yes.
online. I love it.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. And, because I'm a person of intention, I like to get intentional. Certainly from the outset of all my interviews, I always ask my guests to set an intention so that we can move from there. But, it's always wonderful because I always ask that wonderful people be brought into my world. It's always that
Mhm.
something wonderful is about to happen. And when I met you, we connected and I was like, oh yeah, something's great going to happen today.
Mhm.
So I'm going to go with that. So do that, set your intention, pick your insight. And at the end of the interview, we'll come back around. But before we get to talking, I want to introduce everyone to you. You are a graduate of the College of William and Mary. You have graduated summa cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa. So you're no scrub here. We're talking about serious education behind you. You double majored in psychology and Spanish. So that's amazing. And you earned your PhD in clinical psychology from St. John's University, and you're now a licensed psychologist in multiple states across the country. Your specialties include addiction, eating disorder, and trauma. In addition to seeing private patients, you're also a speaker and author. You have wonderful books out there. I was perusing as we were getting prepared for the interview. The first one, Total Wellness for Mommies, and what I like, The Wisdom from the Universe, which is so cool. But that's your newest one out there. And then you have a book chapter called Narcissists, Gaslighters, and Toxic Relationships. Oh my. And that appears in the Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self-Care. I mean, that sounds like a headline in the news these days for sure, right? As we're going through that wonderful, yellow brick road. Yeah, absolutely. Narcissists, gaslighters, toxic relationships. Oh my. But this is even more exciting. You have a co-host you are a co-host on the
Mhm.
podcast, Slightly Sane. So you
Mhm.
clearly know that I'm going to ask you about that title because it's genius. We in positive psychology, as you probably know, they call it islands of sanity. So you
Mhm.
obviously, take a spin on that with regard to Slightly Sane, which can be found on Spotify and YouTube as well. Excuse me. Your goal is to help individuals break free from early programming and design lives that are filled with connection, purpose, and service to others. So, what a wonderful, mission, vision, goal, all of the above. Welcome to the show, Laura. I appreciate you being here with me.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really excited for us to have this conversation. It's fantastic.
Yeah, one of the things I start off with on the show is that we have our themes, and today is gratitude is everything. And ultimately, sometimes you're looking around the world and you're wondering, this is not something to be grateful for. I'm not psyched about that. But the honest to God truth is that if we can find more things to be grateful for, then hopefully we have more things to be grateful for. I start off with the quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson, the classics, American essayist, sorry. And it's for each new morning with its light, for rest and shelter of the night, for health and food, for love and friends, for everything thy goodness sends. Amazing. It always has you refocusing on when life goes awry and you kind of spiral into the negative frame of mind. It's hard to stay positive and hold yourself up. But when you feel this way, instead of throwing the towel in, a lot of times, it's like, okay, what do I grab onto? Right. And sometimes you throw the towel in for a bit, but you also want to grab onto something so that you can start to recognize those things in your life that are going well and that do make you feel good, and start listing those out to kind of shift your energy into something else, instead of focusing on the darkness. I love that quote, light a candle, but here, recognize the morning light, start from the beginning, a prayer of gratitude. um you know it's back to the concept of the key to bliss in this day is be grateful for the little things because they will one day prove to be the big things. So I get to shift to you now. What are your thoughts on this?
It's so funny that you bring this up because I opened the book to read the quote. I've been reading the past few days, and I think as you know or don't know, and some people on social media may know if they saw it, my son had a horrific car accident
I
last night. Yeah, so his car was totaled. He had some bumps, but he's okay. And when I opened the book today and I read about gratitude, I was like, this is it, because people are saying to me things like, oh, what else could go wrong? I had people break into my bank account last week. This week it's the car, and they're like, what's next? And I said, what's next? Fame and fortune.
Oh, there
Let's
you go.
put that
You're like,
there.
do you ever hear the beauty of the threes, right? Three
Yeah.
good things, three bad things, three good things. It's that beautiful, kind of pendulum that shifts constantly in life. And, and I do love this too shall pass. And it
Mhm.
does. Everything does.
I
The
know.
good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. I love your perspective. I'm so sorry about your son. I'm so glad that he's okay. I
Yeah.
was like, how can I help you? Forget about this. I mean, that's really those are the things that are the big things.
Those are the things, and it's so interesting because it made me notice also, like, how many people are stuck in that programming, that mindset
Yeah.
of, "Oh, they keep track of the bad things that happened. Well, this happened, and this happened, and this happened," and I'm thinking, "Yeah, but my son is safe.
Mm,
It's a car. We will get a new car. That's what we have insurance for. I
mm,
can't replace him.
yeah.
Everything else is replaceable, and thank goodness that, we can do that." And so that kind of thinking, that mindset stuff really sticks out because I think our culture is really fostering negativity right now. And there are so many of us who are trying to communicate a different message.
Yeah.
And we just run into those roadblocks every day.
I agree. It's really that kind of shock and awe that grab people's attention. I think, it's interesting. I love it when they usually do those like once in a while, acts of kindness and they put it all over like, how about let's take a moment for that for now, right? Like
Mhm.
acts of kindness, things to be grateful for, to remind all of us that like you just said, there are people out there in the world who are truly trying to elevate the vibration rather than bring it down or trying to shock the hell out of people where they're all running around with their heads on fire. And I think that is goes perfect segue to your story, how you started in this field and writing writing your wonderful wellness books to the universe. Tell me a little bit about where you've come from to where you are now.
It's so interesting because I look back on myself as a child and I'll go, "How the heck did I get here?" Right? So, I originally wanted to be a teacher, but I come from a family of educators. I always had a soft spot for kids. So I really thought that I was going to wind up working with children. But I just had so many good experiences in my training that I figured the best way to reach children is to help their parents, to help the adults, and to start from the top down. And so that's kind of what I did. But one of the things that I found so fascinating when I started college was, and that's how I got interested in eating disorders, on my freshman hall, there were 6 out of 18 girls who were struggling or had struggled with eating disorders. And those were the people who reported it.
I was going to say,
Right. So we know the numbers were much greater. And just looking at the suffering that was going on from these high achieving people who believed that their worth was defined by a number on the scale. And so I love working with addictions and eating disorders because they're just so complicated.
yeah,
And so like you can really get in there and do a lot of work. But at the end of the day, everyone has a purpose. Everyone is here for a reason. And so if we can help someone latch on to what their reason is, it motivates them to keep going in those dark moments where you want to throw in the towel, right?
yeah, it's interesting. I was sharing this last weekend with a lot of people with regards to I call my company Butterflies and Bliss, and it seems so flowery and it seems so unserious and all this other, but it really means transformation and happiness. I mean literally, and what's everybody kind of vying for? And what you're saying right now, to me, what I hear you saying, and it's very interesting that you were that intuitive and that you knew that you were that intuitive in college and that you were actually able to take in everything that at the end of the day, you really truly found your happiness by serving other people. It's interesting. I wanted to ask you, that is something that you actually saw, like, everyone's paying attention to this whole, bigger than, college life. And then you're paying attention to the actual people How did that happen? How did that unfold?
I think I've always been a watcher. So I've always observed things that have gone on. I've always been, an empath, always felt things very deeply. I think, for better or for worse, I was bullied horrifically as a child. And I think that made me much more sensitive to
Yeah.
what goes on in groups and to sort of monitor from the outside a little bit before jumping in. So I've always kind of tested the temperature of the
Awesome.
room before I've gone in. And so I think I was just watching like what my place was going to be in this like grand scheme, being with 18 other girls in a hallway and a dorm and things like that. And when I started studying psychology, I went into college with the idea of whatever I feel like studying that's not work, that's where I'm supposed to go job wise. And so psychology was the only class where I just kept reading ahead. And I was like, tell me more, tell me more. I want to know more about this. And so it really clicked.
Do you think that your parents as educators really guided you to find your own passion and purpose in life, or was it the the other, kind of like do something that's going to actually get you a living and support yourself?
I think that's a great question. I think, like I said, I've learned a lot from observing. And so I think my parents would say this. I think they're okay with me saying this, that they're not particular risk takers.
Okay,
Right.
that's
And
fair.
so as I went on in my life, I was always like, I'm going to take the risks.
Yeah,
My mom would educate me and say, there's no decision that you can't undo. So she knew what to say.
that's
Right.
good. Yeah.
But she just wasn't able to do it for herself. So, I went out there and I'm like, okay, I'm going to apply to the school I want to go to. I'm going to travel by myself to Ecuador. I'm going to do all of these things to serve others and to hopefully like create an environment where people feel that they can do it too.
So Ecuador, huh? So what brought you to Ecuador? I'm like, what brought you to Ecuador?
So I've always been looking for ways to meld the Spanish language and the psychology. And there was an organization, a school psychology organization that takes group of volunteers over there. You live with a family for 2 weeks, and we had the absolute pleasure of going to a neurological clinic
Oh,
and
wow.
helping them do intakes and sort of fill up their backlog so they could catch up. So it was like one of those great moments where it was
Yeah,
like, this is what I went to school for,
yeah.
is to be able to serve people who may not get care otherwise,
Mhm.
and to sort of make psychology or make mental health less mysterious. It's not that mysterious.
Yeah.
We have to pay attention to it, but we can, and we can learn, and we can get better.
I love that. So that was actually after you had, like, become a psychologist and actually were
Mhm.
in the field while when you went to Ecuador and you did that part, for a service in volunteering.
Right.
Oh, wow. So that's really great. And Spanish too. Where'd that come from? I mean, I don't know. Maybe you have a Spanish background, but I can't tell from your name. So
No, no, I absolutely don't, but I always felt, what I saw my brother study a little bit of Spanish, and I always felt, wow, it's like a code to the world.
yeah.
So if you know all of these languages, you can get dropped anywhere in the world and you'll
True.
be okay, and you could help understand the people. So I studied in college, I studied 3 languages. I did French, Spanish, and Portuguese.
Okay.
So I always felt that, okay, the world opens up when you can understand people. And the best way to understand people is to communicate with them.
Yeah.
And we can't always believe that people are going to know English because
Mhm.
they don't. So meet them where they're at.
That's awesome. I love the way you even actually explain that. It's true because I always found like if you can take away any kind of barriers
Mhm.
somehow and then share from that place where you're at least trying to
Right.
engage, then the world becomes a smaller place, at least with regard to how do we interrelate and we all are interconnected anyway. Well, I think that's fantastic. And it sounds to me like you've had a very interesting career. I mean, the current okay, you're going to have to explain on your bio. There's a wonderful terminology as to how you define your current role as a psychologist, and it was you tell me because I honestly I'm not going to play through this, but it's very interesting.
About the mindset piece, or
Yes, the mindset piece, but it has a very complicated name. It was very little bit complicated.
I
You know?
don't remember exactly what you're talking about, but I do know that I
Okay.
help people with the reprogramming, and I
Okay.
think that's the part. Was that what you were referring
Maybe
to?
that's it. It's I'm gonna look it up. But anyway, yeah, go ahead. Tell me a little bit about that and what that actually is, because
So
sometimes it's like, okay.
One of
Reprogramming. Ooh,
Yeah,
interesting.
one of the things that I've really observed with people is no matter how old you are, we have a tendency to still carry around rules. Let's call it rules. Rules that we
Okay.
learned when we were a kid. Don't take risks. Don't spend money. Don't put everything away. Don't travel. Save for a rainy day. And it's so interesting that we accept these things as truth, and maybe as children they were, but then as we get older and older, some of that programming, that it doesn't
Mhm.
work anymore. It
Mhm.
doesn't fit the life that we're in. If I didn't take risks, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I was the first
Right.
one in my family to go away to college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I mean, it was all about like figuring out, okay, what do I want to change from what I learned?
Yeah.
And so my goal is to help people get unstuck and to really shift that mindset and reprogram themselves.
So it says, okay, practice interjurisdictional telepsychology.
Ah,
Okay, that
okay.
was okay. That is like, I'm not crazy. I knew I was reading something that I absolutely had no idea about, so I had to ask. Granted by the Side Pack Commission.
That is fancy, and that's actually something that came out of COVID. And so if we're talking about like removing barriers, including language barriers, well, of course there are distance barriers. And for many years, you could only practice in the state where you were.
Right.
As COVID happened, things has expanded a little bit. Now they have a license, a specific license for people who apply and go through the whole screening process. And you can practice now telehealth in any state that accepts that license.
Okay.
And so that's the PsyPact license. So
Okay.
that allows me to practice. I think it's 40 something states now. So, people in South Dakota or people in Montana who have a hard time finding someone locally,
Yeah.
now they can just pop onto Psychology Today, look someone up, find out if they have the PsyPact license, and you're good to go.
Oh, that's great. So that your actual, bandwidth has been expanded by virtue of
Mhm.
being basically locked inside a house.
Right. Right.
Isn't that funny? The contrast, the beautiful contrast of life as
Mhm.
they continue. I will say one of my favorite things I always do, and I love the ones that you picked, by the way. It's fantastic. And it's wonderful quotes that you get to share as far as what you're inspired by. And of course, I started with this one. I'm not sure if this is what the role or actually the alignment that you wanted to put it in, but it's one of my favorite quotes. I was actually on my senior page in high school. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Eleanor Roosevelt. Tell me a little bit about what this means to you.
So that's amazing because that was in my yearbook as well. That was my
No, I knew I liked you.
That was my quote in my senior year yearbook,
I love it.
absolutely. And that was really a direct consequence of having been bullied when I was a child
Yep.
what are the implications for that, right? And we hear about it all the time on social media. It's You don't have to buy into what people
Yeah.
say about you. Like they can say it till the cows come home, but
Yeah.
why are you believing it?
Absolutely. And honestly, the same kind of story. I was bullied and I was
Mhm.
bullied too. And I think my mother was the one who suggested that I put that, or at least kind of vibe with it,
Right.
and feel around it, because it's so true. It's like
Mhm.
you give them permission to make you feel small, or you give them
Mhm.
permission not to. And it's really kind of wonderful when you think about it. And Eleanor Roosevelt, she's quite the badass as well. So there you go. And then we have, I love this one. This is how change happens. One gesture, one person, one moment at a time. Beautiful.
Fascinating. Fascinating how you can break a behavior chain filled with negativity by just doing one nice thing for someone.
Amazing. The people, I've heard it say that when you have to replace one bad thing with 10 nice things.
Right. Mhm,
Just to like kind of replace the neural pathways
mhm,
so that you can perhaps maybe get yourself in good with that person again. So try
right.
not to be such a jerk, right?
Mhm.
But I do love this because it really truly does make a difference, especially in the world as we all walk around the world, is how we interact with other people. Why did you pick this? Why? I'm curious. It's one of your inspirations that you chose, so I'm curious. Why would this be something of import to you?
Because I see it every single day. I see, like, walking into the grocery store and saying to somebody, "Thank you," or
Yeah.
holding the door for them, and they weren't smiling before, Now they're smiling.
Mm,
So you know that you've had that immediate impact on someone, a
right.
positive one, and maybe they'll take that new mood and maybe they'll pass it on to somebody else. Maybe they'll hold the door for the next person, or maybe they won't be so angry when a customer asks for something. And so I really believe that we all have a responsibility to pass on positive to other people because that's how it grows.
Yeah, and it also does help your world too. It helps you too. It's
Mhm,
certainly, I always say if I'm going to like I've heard it say, if you're really in a bad place, just go back to bed.
mhm,
Just go back to bed. Don't destroy anybody else's day. Just
mhm.
stay with if you can, right? But
Right.
I do believe that, certainly one gesture, one person, one moment at time, kindness is begets kindness and gratitude also for that. And then, of course, we have this beautiful one, "Aim for the moon. If you miss, you may hit a star." Clement Stone, W. Clement Stone. I love it.
Love it. A lot, especially if you are a manifesting kind of person.
Yeah.
You never manifest small, you manifest big.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking manifesting today, one of the things I love to, grab onto, especially from my guests, is that first of all, that you actually use the word in that connotation where you go big. A lot of people do play small because they think that, if they try to think big, they'll be disappointed and then that's just going to destroy them. They can't,
Mhm.
can you imagine, fail and shame and all of that. But when you're a manifestor, you're just like, keep throwing it out there, keep doing those inspirational kind of hits. So back to you, you're clearly a manifestor. You're clearly someone who brings in a lot of wonderful things that you want to see, arrive in your world. I think that's fantastic. What are some of the tools that you use to keep yourself focused on that? Being a psychologist, for one, you probably have tons of scientific research and proof that can help you, but some kind of general, assistance for people who may not even understand what that is.
That's a fantastic question. I've raised my kids to be manifestors. So we've been talking this language since they were little. And so, they look for it now. And it's so hard for me to think about and be like, what am I teaching them theory-wise? And I think I'm teaching them about possibility and about don't shut yourself down before you've even given yourself the opportunity to dream and to be what you always wanted to be.
Yeah,
Because there's nothing
love
anybody
it.
who's famous or a millionaire or whatever, they're really just like us.
Yeah.
They just found a key to get them to the next place a little bit quicker, maybe, or
Mm,
however it happens to be. But my kids have manifested a lot.
love it.
And so when they're feeling down, I immediately go to them, go to the visual. Go to the visual and the feeling that you felt when my daughter manifested a Gucci ring last year that she wanted so badly. And
Mm.
within a I think we said it was 7 days. Within 7 days, she had the Gucci ring on her finger, um,
I
at
love it.
an insanely low price, and every day when she is feeling discouraged, I say, "Look at the ring that's on your
I
finger,
love
and
it.
you explain to me how you can feel discouraged. Do you have proof?"
Yeah. Symbolism and at least things to reminders,
Mhm,
reminders around, what you're looking for or what you're seeking are such a wonderful thing. And I think that's a wonderful tool you just stated, because I think a lot of people, kind of can get themselves mired in that, you say stuck, right? You say you
mhm.
help them get unstuck, that if you can at least have some kind of, shift, mini or big as it may be, then it really does change your perspective. And one of the things, you know, for extraordinary people in this world, people are extraordinary. Everyone I think is extraordinary. I think everyone has that extra, as my daughter would say, stop being extra, but we want people to be extra, we want people to show out, show up and show out. I think, clearly the people that are literally on the airwaves talking the loudest don't seem to know, what the best is for everybody, and I think that many voices that might fear that they speak up, they don't feel they'll be heard, for one, or that they might not matter, they're not special. I think that is probably what extraordinary people do to encourage others, permission to allow them, or permission to them, because they see you, to show up in their lives. I think that on our journey that we're all storytellers. I think we all, and how well you can tell a story is really important because,
Mhm.
obviously everybody's looking to be entertained, certainly. But, I was like, well, the better you tell the story for yourself, your own narrative, the better it is. So for you so far, I mean, you've gone to William and Mary, you went to St. John's, you have a PhD, you have a show now, you've written books. What's your favorite part of your story that you want to share today with everybody who's listening?
I think what I tell people is it looks great on paper. It looks great in a snapshot on Instagram. But this did not come. I didn't just wake up and
Oh, you
say,
did it.
"Oh,
It was beautiful.
this
You
is
woke
what
up
happened."
beautiful.
Right. There were discouragements, there were problems, there were losses along the way. It was just the knowledge that none of us knows what we're doing, but push through and do it anyway, because if you give up, you're not going anywhere.
Well, is there a particular like moment in your life where you're just like, okay, this is my once around. I can't waste it because, man, I'm here to do fabulous things. Is there something that just like shook you out or prep doldrums that, I do know people who will sit back and they say, well, if I don't try, then I can't fail, And then other people who are like, oh my God, this life is only a certain amount of time. This is our, like, we only have one time to live this. Let's do it, because of something that's happened.
I think one of the things that I've trained myself to do is whenever an opportunity comes up, I say yes.
Oh, really? Any opportunity?
Well, within reason. Yeah. I don't want to get arrested or lose
Yeah.
my license, but being okay with the power of yes, and also
Oh,
setting a boundary to know when to say no. But the power of yes is really important to be able to say, I'm scared about this, but it's a yes for me anyway. Like when I
yeah.
went to Ecuador, part of one of the things that we wanted to do was go on this thing called the swing at the top of the world. And so
Wait, what is that? What is that?
it's a rope swing in the mountains of Ecuador, and it swings over open space that is so high and just you're thinking if you fall, it's not going to be good. But I said to myself, I came all the way to Ecuador. I am not going to do this. And a lot of times when I felt stuck, I would say, you know what, this will make a great story someday. So just go ahead and do it. And if it winds up being an epic fail, people will laugh and you'll have a great cocktail story to tell. And so that
Oh,
motivates me
yes,
because, as I say to people every day, it will work out. It has to.
it has to.
Until the day you die, it will work out because you will have to find a solution.
So you went on the ride. You went on this.
I went. I closed my eyes for the first part of it. I opened one eye enough to know that I was really high up, and then I said, "Done. I don't ever have to do this again," because I have a big fear of heights, but
Yeah.
I was really thrilled that I did it, and I took the
Wow.
pictures and, it was a fun experience, and I
Oh,
can
wow.
really say, like, "Okay, I challenged a fear, don't need to do that again," but
Yeah.
how many people can also say that they went on the swing at the top of the world?
Wow. And I'm telling you, the view must have been amazing, right? I
It
mean,
was amazing and dizzying and
all of these.
everything.
Oh, wow, that's so I think the only time that I ever did something like that was when it was a scary ride and my son was maybe 4 at the time and goes, "Face your fear, mommy," and I'm like, "No, no, you didn't," and I knew if I didn't do it, then I would be, like, lambasted for
Yeah.
the rest of my life. He'd hold it against me to the
Mhm.
day I die, so I was
Mhm.
like, "Ah, man," one of those examples, and I'm sure your children look up to you for doing things like that, and I'm sure there's many other things. I want to say, like, what is the thing you're most proud of in your career and your life so far?
My 3 kids.
Your 3 kids.
Definitely. Definitely my 3 kids. I think raising a child, let alone 3, in the society that we have and how tough it is, and they lost a couple years to COVID, to have my kids be 21, 19, and 14, and they still speak to me, um, that to me is, like, really amazing, and, my hope is to just continue to nurture those
Oh,
relationships.
wow.
My son once did something that was really interesting to me. We know that kids watch us.
Yeah.
They're watching us very careful, and my 2nd son, we were at some sort of, vacation rental or whatever, and we were in the common dining room, and he noticed that there was a little kid in the corner who was crying and seemed to be very upset, having a meltdown, and my son, who maybe was 7 at the time, said to me, "Mommy, you're a talking doctor. Go over and help him."
Wow.
And so I was like, wow, they get it.
They
The
get it.
kids get it. So if we can help create or raise children who get it, how
Yeah.
much better our world is eventually going to be.
Oh, wow. It's about legacy for me, and I
Mhm.
think maybe if you, like, think about it, as like, why people say, "Why are you taking yourself so seriously?" But it's really not. I mean, I've lost my mother. I know
Mhm.
what kind of legacy she's left and what we have to step into. It's not nothing for me. But I think that what your children are saying, watching you, seeing you help others, it's like, I think, you know, they might think that you have magic in you. And I think that it could be true. It could be true. I
Mhm.
think it certainly can be true. And, one of the things that is certainly part of a legacy is leaving books behind, and you wrote a book called The Wisdom from the Universe. You also wrote a book, Wellness for Mommies, as
Mhm.
well. I mean, when you set out to do this, what was it your intention to share with the world? I know this is a journal to motivate and inspire, but your other books aren't journals. They're actually,
They're more informational,
yeah.
right. I think there's something powerful about hearing somebody's lived experience, especially if, like we said, on paper, it looks like things have been absolutely wonderful. We all go through trouble. We all go through strife. We all go through things that are
Yeah.
painful. And so my hope is for people to recognize that you can come out the other side.
Yeah.
It may take some time, but that doesn't mean you give up. It means you redirect, you pivot, you decide to do it a different way. I have never gotten any place from going A to B. It has always been, I'll go here, maybe there's a C,
Yeah.
maybe there's a D, but I'll eventually
Yeah.
get there. And I think everybody else has that opportunity as well if they believe in themselves.
Oh, that's so important. I think that you're the third person, like, in this matter of many days. The belief in yourself is so important to start from that place. At least say, I'm here on purpose for a great purpose. What is it going to happen? I don't know, but I'm here and there's a reason for it. And I love that. And so, your journal to motivate and inspire, what exactly are we going to be looking at when we open that book up to see? Is it a challenge for us to get internalized and, get intentional with our own selves?
So what I did with the book is all of the quotes that are in this book, I call them downloads from the universe.
Yeah.
So from my own connection with the universe, whether you want to call it psychic ability, mediumship, intuition, whatever you want to call it. I collected these downloads over many years, and we were heading into COVID, which was probably the worst time to write a book from a business perspective.
Yeah.
But I felt that people needed it now. They
Yeah.
needed to reflect, look in themselves. Everything is positive and inspirational to give you that oomph to recognize that, okay, I'm having a bad day. Let me just pick one of these and
So
journal
why
on
don't
it.
you share one with us, if you may?
This one just says, focus on your blessings and see how they start to magically multiply.
Oh, I
And that's
love
a lot like gratitude.
Yeah.
But my hope is that someone then fills out the other page and really looks at, gee, what are my blessings? When
Yeah.
was the last time I actually considered the possibility that I am blessed?
Yeah.
Because I've been focusing too much on the bills and the bad things that have been happening. But if you allow yourself, and I just made a bracelet that has this on it, it says magic. If you allow yourself to explore it, the world is actually magical.
Yeah.
Stuff happens on a daily basis that we cannot explain.
Yeah. You're my kind of people, Laura. You really are. And it's funny is it's like I do like it's we to preach to the choir is a good thing because sometimes you need your people to say, "Oh yeah, I see you, I hear you. Keep going. We need you." And then when you're out in the world listening to other people saying, "What are you talking about? You're insane." What
Mhm.
well, I have people. I have my people.
Mhm.
But I do think that these kind of books, especially the wisdom from you, I love how you saying you channeled it or you let it work through you.
Mhm.
It's a genius. It really does add to your life to sit down and journal. Perhaps this could be used as a journal, or somehow you can really get quiet so that you can actually hear. And a quote like that is something that would really inspire that ability to hear maybe something that you're not listening to because the noise is so loud. And
That's a great point. We never take the time to quiet ourselves. I think many, many people are afraid of what they will
Mhm.
see or hear or learn about themselves. And I view it as it's all information.
All information.
You
It
can do
is.
whatever you want with it.
That's so true. I am sometimes really challenged with meditation. I'll tell you that much because it's like, but then if I am, I just like scream because I'm like, ah, it's
Mhm,
just kind of like settle, just like the shock and awe, settle yourself,
mhm, right.
because a lot is happening, a lot's happening, and a lot trying to grab our attention. So then you also have this really amazing podcast now called Slightly Sane. It looks like you're working with Dr. Christy and you. How
Mhm.
did this come to fruition? Tell me.
So, Christy and I have worked in the same private practice since I moved down to Florida in 2019. And she and I, over the past multiple months, found that we had such a similar sense of humor in terms of looking at the world and seeing how we viewed things and seeing like how you can take some of the things that are going on in the world, recognize the absurdity of it,
Yeah.
hope through it, find humor, and still come out on the other side with maybe some strategies or some advice or some things that can help you. So we decided to put together something that reflects our personalities and what we were hearing other people saying. Like, the world is crazy right now. How do we stay sane in a world that's gone crazy? And so we're saying sometimes it really is hard to stay sane. So we'll be slightly sane for the day. We'll just take a little bit of that nugget to get us through, and maybe we'll laugh about something funny that we see in the news instead of getting outraged about it.
Right.
And so that to us was like our mental health break, is to actually talk about things in a different way.
I love that you call it a mental health break. I think anything that'll kind of, pause it to be something really kind of effective in the conversation. I do believe that there's so much that we can flush out and heal from the conversations. That's why I was like, stop, don't cut off the conversation. Certainly, like you said, the yes, but have boundaries as well. But with a show like that, is it a conversational between you and Dr. Christie, or do you have like other people, or like how is it formatted?
So the way we started it off is we started with a conversation. So we have some topics that we think are hot topics, that we know we want to talk about because it's reflected in the media or we hear a lot about it. And then we have guests come in roughly about once a month to offer their perspective
Mhm.
on whether it's their own specialty in family therapy, or whether it's, we had someone come in who's very committed to PTSD and helping first responders and veterans and teens with PTSD. And she's got this big nonprofit organization. And so we wanted to highlight her because she's doing so many good things for the
Yeah.
world. And even letting people know, if you are struggling, where are the resources for you?
So this is called Slightly Sane. It's SLIGHTY. Next word Sane, SANE. It's on Spotify and YouTube and all over the podcast world. Is that as well?
Absolutely, and
Okay.
I'll tell you a little secret about the YouTube video is I did do a dress up for Halloween, for a Halloween episode, and so you will see me in costume in, episode number 6.
Oh, very cool. I like creative people too. I think it's
Mhm,
great. Definitely. And well, let's just leave it out there and let people
mhm.
like figure it out for themselves for
Right.
sure. Awesome. So, so Slightly Sane, you have your books. What is moving you forward in life besides your children? Obviously, I know that that's really important, but
Mhm.
what other thing is a motivating factor for you that moves you ahead toward whatever that is that you're seeking?
I absolutely have loved, loved, loved since day one doing individual therapy. I love helping people one on one. However, there is so much power working in groups
Okay.
and speaking to groups and feeding off that energy. I did acting when I was younger, and so it's a similar kind of thing. When you're giving a talk, when you're connecting with the audience, and you see someone have that aha moment,
Yeah,
that inspires me. It gives me so much energy. Like, okay, at least one person got it, and if they go home and they teach somebody else what they just learned today,
I love it.
maybe we've affected 2 people.
Yeah.
So that to me is kind of where I'm headed, pushing myself more out in public.
Yeah.
Even though there's some fear of like bullying and trolls on Instagram and all of that stuff, I think it's worth it. I think everybody has a purpose. Everybody can do something amazing and magical with their life if they allow themselves to.
I love it. And you know, when I started speaking in public, I used to say ally spotting, ALLY spotting. Look in the crowd for your ally who
Mhm.
literally is the one that's like, here I am for you. You know, doesn't even have to be someone you know. It could just be someone, like you said, that gets that aha. They get you, they hear you, that you're like, you're on that plane. You're there for them. And that is it. And everybody else who wants to join the party, amen. But that is the connection that you were looking for. That one person, like you said, that could be the one who goes back and shares it with others as well. You know, so we talked about your books. We talked about like manifesting. You know, what is your favorite part of this journey so far?
Ooh, I think my own mindset shift has been interesting, painful, torturous at times,
Torturous.
really looking at, okay, where was I? Where am I now?
Yeah.
And where can I go? And staying excited about it, even though I don't have it right this very minute,
Yeah.
knowing that you could potentially do it. We're all one phone call, one email away from
Yeah.
things changing radically. And so my hope is that, you know, within the next year, I'll be out there a little bit more publicly, helping to connect with my people and just helping people to change and to bring other people along for the ride, because the ride can be fun.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think fun is definitely a wonderful place to begin. Certainly, you know, a lot of the people that I admire are seeking that because, you know, this is this is our once around as well. So, back to fun. One of the fun things that I get to do by virtue of writing my book Magical Guide to Bliss is ask you what was your intention today and then tell me what number you picked from the magical guide to see what would be the synchronistic, you know, falling in line.
So I picked today was going to be magic, that we were going to create some magic for
Love it.
people out there. So that to me is connecting with somebody, having a conversation where you're resonating. That to me is creating a magical moment that I hope everybody who is listening or watching can feel that energy.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, my number is always lucky number 7.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say, I knew that you were gonna say
mhm,
gonna say that. So
yeah.
turn to page 7 of the book and read the insight for that day. It's the page on the bottom, number 7.
Let's see.
I love a good 7
Oh,
anyway.
wow. So it's January 5th. Remember, life is an adventure, which is
Oh,
exactly what we were talking about.
and
Because
I
of our
say go through the part if you like whatever part, like, speaks to you, share with us.
Okay, so I like the quote from Maya Angelou. Because of our routines, we forget that life is an ongoing adventure. And that's where we have to put the fun and the magic back in. Like when we were kids, we stopped
Mhm.
playing pretend, we
Yeah,
stopped imagination. And I think that's the worst thing that adults can do is
yeah.
to cut that right brain part of them off. Because that's where the fun stuff happens.
So what do you do for fun?
I love being outside in nature. I love
Mhm.
walking. I love hiking, biking, spending time with my kids, listening to music. Listening to music is when I really get into a meditative state. That
Okay.
for me is like, that's my go-to all the time.
So
Uh,
what music would you recommend today, perhaps, that works for you, that might work for someone who's listening today?
I think from motivational music, I really like some of the stuff that Eminem has out. I think he's, you know, this is a
Yeah,
guy who's been at the bottom,
yeah,
he's been at the top, and
yeah.
if you want somebody to tell you straight, he's gonna tell you straight.
Oh, I
And so
love
he's
it.
got some good motivational music, which I love, and then I love Broadway tunes, I love show tunes, I love musicals, so I could be all over the place.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I absolutely like, if you know me, which you don't know me well enough right now, but I'm a I literally my memoir, I wanna make it into a Broadway musical and then go that would be my ultimate, like, dream for sure, because there's something to be able to live vicariously through this life story come to life in music for sure. I love that you said that. I love Eminem. That's
Mhm,
wonderful. And also, you know, just very exciting that the different like that would move you. I think music is clearly one of the most important things that we can do to shift our energy. And I love that this whole thing is about the adventure. What about the adventure? So the adventure, where can we find you? Where in the world can we find Dr. Laura?
So I am actually based in Florida, but you can find me. Go to my website at www.lauraellick.com. Of course, you can check out our podcast, Slightly Sane, at Spotify and YouTube. And we love your suggestions. We love your comments. So you can reach out to us also at slightlysanepodcast@gmail.com. And I will be doing a live event actually this weekend, 11/11, in Carlin Park in Jupiter. And I'm going to be speaking about resilience in teenagers. And I will be having copies of my book there. So if you want a copy of the book, come down.
So I just want to step back. It's LAURAELLICK.com. So that's her website. And also, my God, she's going to be live this weekend on 11/11. I love those numbers too.
Don't you love it? Yeah.
Very exciting. 11/11, she's going to be live in Jupiter. I think that's great. You'll have your books available, so even better. And you can talk all about that. You can talk to her about resilience is such an important piece in the whole, overarching, everything for sure. And I remember that she does say, go check her out on Slightly Sane with her book is Wisdom from the Universe, at least this one. Will you have all 3 of your books with you or just this
I
one?
will have 2 out of the 3 with me. The other one, Total Wellness for Mommies, is out of print right now, but
okay. Well, that's
time
fair.
to revise it. Time to revise it.
Time to revise it. It's coming back. We need wellness for mommies. Oh my God. I've been watching that show, Lessons in Chemistry. And I don't know if you see that, but at the end of her thing, she goes, now everyone go set the table. So your mom needs a moment. And I love it. I was like, oh, anyway. So, at the end of the show, I always ask for a final inspiration. And certainly, there's so much inspiration you've given us today, but one that, maybe, an inspiration that we can use with gratitude involved or whatever else you want to say. But I think it really is what we can leave everyone with today, an inspiration to guide our way today.
I think everyone is more powerful than they give themselves credit for. And all you need is one person to believe in you. And if that person is you, you're golden.
I love it. That's right. If that one person is you, and you can give yourself permission to do whatever you want to do for sure. But hearing that from you, I think that's a wonderful thing as a reminder for sure. I want to thank you so much. I'm going to put the show off in the stream, Slightly Sane. I think that a lot of people might need a little bit Islands of Sanity. So go listen to it on Spotify and YouTube. Laura, it's been wonderful talking to you. I do want to give you the final word for sure. And then, hopefully people will connect with you. They'll go see you this weekend. They also will connect on your webpage. Once again, Laura Ellick.com. And you're also on Instagram. I wanted to mention that too. You do a lot of inspirational posting on Instagram. That's where we met. So is it Laura Ellick or
it's Laura Ellick Reel for Instagram, REAL, Laura Ellick Reel. And then a lot of that content is also loaded onto my own YouTube channel, which is also Laura Ellick. So
is it REEL or REAL?
REAL.
Okay, so Laura Ellick Reel. Okay, perfect. That's Instagram. So give us a final thing. Shoot us out of the world today.
Oh gosh. So my thought is to tell everybody out there that there's help available if you need it. There is motivation out there if you need it. There are people who are willing to hear you. If I can't help you, I will help you find somebody who can help you. There are people who want to step up to the plate. You just have to let them know that you need them. And we're so worried about being vulnerable, but you know what? We're all in the same boat. We all have only done life once. We're all getting used to it. So let's not tear each other down. Let's kind of help each other get through it.
That's beautiful. I love it. Thank you again, Laura. This has been wonderful. This is Dr. Laura Ellick today on the Gratitude is Everything show, which it is. And I'm very grateful that you had this time this afternoon with me, that you've shared your wisdom, your insight, and all of your wonderful things that you're doing. Remember, everybody, we're all here to be deliberate creators of our life. Dream big, get inspired, and get ready to manifest the life of your dreams. I'm wishing you all bliss. Thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye, everybody.